Shemrick. Today I'm making whole grain bread. What's the difference between whole grain and white bread and all that? Well, pretty much whole grain just means that I'm using the whole kernel. I mean, these are wheat berries here. I know that in some families, in some homes, people can't have wheat, but we still like it here and it seems to do us well. The difference between the whole grain is that everything is still in the grain. This is an example of what whole grain flour might look like. I did buy some whole wheat flour, but I like to use as much as possible of my own whole grain flour. I'm going to use it using my Vitamix. Now we're talking about whole grains today because whole grains have, again, they're packed with all the nutrients. God made it to where all the nutrients were in it, packaged, and the portions were perfect, and it's just this nugget of nutrients ready for us to eat. I want to show you something else that I'm making with the whole grains. Come on over. I even want my cookies to be whole grain. So I've made some chocolate chip cookies. They have buckwheat groats, flaxseed, honey, cacao powder, and dark chocolate chips. There's some more. I've also learned how to make whole grain granola bars. You'll see this one is my whole grain, I call it honey and nuts. We have some pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, walnuts, honey, did I say honey? Yes, honey, oat groats, buckwheat groats, flaxseed, dark and golden. And what I do is I soak them overnight, and to make them nice and soft and palatable, they also say that some of the enzymes are released so that we can get more of the nutrients from them. And so then what I do is I soak them overnight, then put them together in a different flavors. Like this one is my apple and cinnamon. I have crushed up apple with walnuts and cinnamon. So I just like shake it up in different ways. But see, what I'm trying to do for myself and my family is to eat whole foods, whole grains. Let's go back over to the bread. I'm going to take my wheat berries and I'm going to make them into flour. I'm going to start it for a little while and then I will come back. Alright, so now I have my flour made, and as you notice in other segments, I don't measure anything. Sometimes things don't turn out, but most of the time they do. So I'm just going to take my fresh flour, put it in my bread maker. I know how to make bread, but I don't have time to do that. I'm sure you don't either. I'm going to take about a teaspoon, maybe a teaspoon and a half of the yeast. I think this is bread machine yeast. I have some of my honey. My honey happens to be a type of honey that is not pasteurized, so it usually crystallizes very quickly. Oh, I'm going to have to use my fingers. But doesn't that make it more fun to cook with? Alright. Drop that in there. The heat will warm it up. I need a little bit of milk. And I always eye things up, so I'm kind of just going for it here. I always do. Whoops. Put a little milk in there. I use almond milk. I wanted to put the yeast with the honey because sometimes when it's mixed with the salt, it just doesn't work right. About a teaspoon of salt, and I'm ready to put it in my bread machine. After a while, when it's done with the kneading, I look to see if it's formed into this nice moist ball, and if it hasn't turned into a nice doughy ball, then what I do is I add some more flour, and I usually use the commercial flour. All right, I'll show you when the bread is done. Hi, so I'm looking at the bread here, and I can see, come on over here and look at this. It's not quite a dough yet, so I'm going to add just a little bit more. I know you're thinking, well gosh, doesn't it sometimes have Doesn't it mess up sometimes? Yeah, it does. But after a while, you get the finesse of cooking. I just add a little bit at a time. What I want it to do is to come off the sides. There it is. You see how it's coming off the sides and becoming a ball? That's what I want. I can go for just a little bit more. Now this is the critical part. Critical part. If I put too much in at this part, I could actually ruin it. But so I have to be very, very careful. There it is. Exactly the way I want it. Now another thing I want you to know is I actually put it on, I have a couple settings on my bread maker. I actually put it on dough because I don't want to make it myself. I want to have it where I can put this dough into the refrigerator and have fresh bread whenever I want to. So what I do is I take the bread, I boil the inside of a bag, let some air in it, put it inside the refrigerator, and then I leave it for later. And then whenever my family wants some fresh bread, we just kind of put it together on a pan, and then we bake it and we have fresh bread. All right, I'll be back when it's ready to be a dough. All right, well, so I got the dough is done, and all I've done is I washed my hands, and I'm getting ready to take that dough out. Look at that dough. Isn't that beautiful? And I'm not ready to have bread. We just had lunch not too long ago. So I'm just going to take this out gently. Look at that perfect dough. And I already put some oil in the bag. I'm going to put that dough, stick it in my hands a little bit. With the oil, kind of mix it around with the oil so it doesn't stick to the bag as much. Usually do this very easily. And then I just ziplock that. I'll put that in the refrigerator, and then when I'm ready to have bread, I'll take it out maybe half hour before and make some bread. I'll show you when I do that. Hey, welcome back. I just took the bread out and let it warm up into the in the kitchen, room temperature. And this is how easy I make them. I'm going to put a little bit of salt on this dough. Maybe some fresh rosemary, and just let them bake. They're wonderful for dipping into your favorite type of oil, or maybe even bruschetta. I think that's what it is. Tomato sauce that goes on bruschetta, maybe? I don't know. I shouldn't use big words if I don't know them, huh? But anyways, there it is. And you'll see, if I have some left over, I'll put it back in the refrigerator and have maybe some fresh bread tomorrow. But my family loves fresh bread, and so I don't think we'll have any leftovers. We're going to enjoy. I'm going to show this to you in 17 minutes and show you what it looks like. All right, see you in a little bit. Okay, so I told you I would show you what the bread looks like. There it is. Now we're going to enjoy this. You do the same. Enjoy.